Let me be very, very careful how I word this. There is a wide receiver that I have ranked inside my top 10 whose play style, said it one more time, whose play style reminds me of Dallas Cowboys all-pro wide receiver CeeDee Lamb. Let's get to it right now, baby.
Okay, let's get it. Bitch, let's get it. Hey.
Welcome back to the station. Welcome back to the channel. Y'all know who it is. It's Ray G. You can find me on X at RayGQ. NFL Combine starts tomorrow. We get the wide receivers, the running backs, and the quarterbacks on Saturday. And if you missed the news from the Wake Up Show on Monday, I will be live streaming the entire Combine on Saturday, talking about the receivers, the running backs, and the quarterbacks as they go through their testing drills. But in this show, we got to go through my top 10 wide receivers heading in to the Combine. The pre-Combine ranks are done. Got them for the running backs as well. I'll be dropping that video tomorrow. But let's dive right into it and talk about these wide receivers because I think this class, as we've been talking about for months, is absolutely loaded. So at number 10 in my pre-NFL Combine ranks, I have UCF wide receiver Javon Baker. Baker is a very nuanced route runner. He can run every single route. It's a robust route tree. He's a very good at contested catch situations as well, and he's got a massive catch radius. So when you're talking about the qualities that make up a good wide receiver, Javon Baker possesses all of those things, as well as tracking the ball downfield. A lot of people don't know, but this was a highly touted recruit coming out of high school. 4-star prospect, originally committed to Alabama and was there his freshman season with Devontae Smith, Jalen Waddle, Jermaine Burton. So he was amongst a bunch of other great wide receivers. And he said, hey, man, I may not get on the field right away, and I want to play right now, so let me get the hell on up out of there. He had about 100 yards his freshman season. Immediately upon transferring into UCF, he balled out right away. 56 passes, 796 yards, and 5 touchdowns. He followed that up this past season with 52 grabs for 1,139 yards and 7 touchdowns. Best part about it, almost 22 yards per catch. That production got him invited to the Senior Bowl, got a chance to see him, meet him, talk to him, watch him work. He's put together. This is a young man that's going to be a nice compliment at the next level. Is he going to be a number one wide receiver at the next level? I'm not going to go that far, but he is going to be a productive player. I really like Javon Baker is another wide receiver 3, wide receiver 4 for your fantasy rosters. Number 10 for me. Let's move on to my wide receiver 9 going into the Combine, and I want to spend a little time talking about Georgia wide receiver Ladd McConkey. 5'11", 187 pounds. He was not highly coveted or highly recruited out of high school. He was about to head to Tennessee Chattanooga, I believe, before Georgia came in late and gave him an offer. Redshirted his freshman season, followed that up as a redshirt freshman with 31 receptions, 441 yards, and 5 touchdowns. This young dude was balling early in his career at Georgia. He followed up that freshman campaign with a nice sophomore season, second in the team behind Brock Bowers in receiving yards, 58 catches, 762 yards, and 7 touchdowns. Injuries kind of derailed most of his 2023 season, but he was still very impactful. And if you turn on the tape, you see him versus Alabama doing work. Ladd McConkey is a crisp route runner. He will be able to separate immediately from day one. It's kind of like a pro-ready, pro-made player. Ladd McConkey should walk on to an NFL team from day one and be a contributor in the slot. And I know a lot of people are going to comp him to Wes Welker, to Cooper Kupp, to Danny Amendola, any white wide receiver that you could think of. But I mean this in the most endearing way, and I talked to him myself personally, and I asked him who he models his game after. He said Cooper Kupp, and again, if we're going to compare somebody to a freaking Triple Crown winner at wide receiver, they better be that damn good. And I think Ladd McConkey's separation skills, his hands, his speed, his athleticism is worthy of a comp of Cooper Kupp, and he told me that. So Ladd McConkey, wide receiver 9 for me, heading into the Combine. At number 8, this is a player that has kind of fallen for me, just tumbled down a little bit over the past couple of weeks. But we're going out to University of Texas and talk about Xavier Worthy. He is my wide receiver 8 going into the Combine. Speed for days, explosiveness is crazy, all of that stuff. 6'1", that's what he's listed at, 172 pounds. We'll see what he formally weighs in and checks in at here in a couple of days. But this man's got juice, baby. quick twitch muscle fibers at his core, right off the line of scrimmage, immediate burst, speed, explosiveness, and he can get it top end speed, high gear immediately. He truly has the type of speed that will change the math on the defensive side of the ball. He is a downfield threat, but he can also work short, intermediate. Now, I don't know how consistent he can be as a reliable number one or even number two target, because he does have some inconsistencies with his hands. And I don't want to get into so much of what the player can't do. I'm just giving you a little bit of the reason why he's fallen for me. You turn on the tape, there are drops. And I know a lot of people say drops don't matter. It don't matter for Jamar Chase. It don't matter for Justin Jefferson. But if you're a young player, it damn sure matters. Confidence, opportunity, all of that. But his speed is game-changing. His speed will translate immediately, and he's a really good player. He offers you something in the return game. He's an overall weapon at wide receiver that can win quickly. He's smooth. He's twitched up. Just got to work on those hands. Still a top 10 wide receiver for me in the class, and I do expect him to get early day 2 draft capital come April. So let's move on to my wide receiver 7 in this class. And some people have this player rated much higher. And again, it ain't no indictment, because there's some players that we're not going to talk about. The Ricky Pearsalls, the Malik Washingtons, the Brendan Rices, who are not going to crack a top 10, but are very talented wide receivers in their own right. But I'm going out west, and I'm talking about Oregon's wide receiver, Troy Franklin. And just like we talked about Xavier Worthy, Franklin's speed is what makes him an exciting high-end potential talent that's worthy of first-round consideration come April. Route running is very good. I think he's a crafty route runner. I wouldn't say he's the most technical, but the way he wins and the way he gets open is very, very crafty. I think he best slots in at the next level as a number 2 wide receiver in an offense that wants to stretch the field vertically. I know y'all about to hate this. You're about to hate what I'm about to say, but I mean it in an endearing way. And I know that seems like it can't be when I say this name, but he does remind me of a combination of Darius Slayton and Marquez Valdez-Scantling, but better. And think about what those two players do well. They get down the field, they stretch defenses vertically, they can change the math on the defensive side of the ball because of that game-changing speed. At 6'3", 187 pounds, little different frame, real slim and wiry, but his top-end speed is no joke. I think he's a competitor at the top of the route, but he's not a very physical wide receiver for me, and that's why he is not as high as wide receiver 3, wide receiver 4 as some people have him. I like Troy Franklin a lot. He's not just a speed guy. I do think he's a very good route runner. He's got a robust tree, and I know the Oregon offense didn't allow him to do some of those things that maybe some of the other receivers did this year, but I'm excited to see where he lands, and I do think the landing spot is going to be important for Troy Franklin. He's got the speed to be a game changer. I like Franklin, and especially in best ball formats, FFPC, Underdog, I am drafting a lot of Troy Franklin. He is the type of wide receiver that you want to get. Now, I said at the beginning of this video, there was a receiver in this class that play style-wise reminds me of Dallas Cowboys All-Pro wide receiver CeeDee Lamb. And I hold true and firm to that. Now, this player is bigger, and I'm not going to say this player is going to be better than CeeDee Lamb. I'm not even coming close to saying that. But when I watch him play, he just reminds me of CeeDee Lamb. And I'm going back to Texas and talking about number 5, the transfer from Georgia, Adonai Mitchell, 6'4", 205 pounds. He's just good at everything. And when you look back to CeeDee Lamb and what he did at the Combine, it wasn't spectacular. He didn't go out there and put up a historic performance. But when you watch CeeDee Lamb at Oklahoma, fluid, smooth, run after the catch, body control, all of that stuff was CeeDee Lamb. And I think Adonai Mitchell's got a little bit of that to his game. SEC to the Big 12, played alongside Jatavian Sanders, played alongside Xavier Worthy, Quinn Ewers, and the quarterback stuff happening this year. I think this young man is going to surprise a lot of people this weekend in Indianapolis, and his stock should only continue to rise after he performs at the Combine. Now, top 5 wide receivers, and yes, 1, 2, and 3 ain't going to be no shock, but maybe right here at 5. And I'm just going to tell y'all how I see it. When I watch them play style, not what they're going to be, play style. And before I say this name, just know that I was all over this kid when he was coming out of college and when everybody in the fantasy football world said there's no way in hell a fourth-round wide receiver can be a team's number one target, Amon-Ra St. Brown said, hold my beer. And that is who Michigan wide receiver Roman Wilson, my wide receiver 5, his play style is very, very reminiscent of Amon-Ra St. Brown. Smooth, fluid, fast, probably going to absolutely destroy the combine. He's going to test better than Amon-Ra St. Brown could ever dream of. But Amon-Ra was a dog. He was good production-wise, landed in a great situation. But when I watch what Roman Wilson can do, not just in the slot, but they split him out wide X, and they let him play some flanker. He can play all three positions of the wide receiver field at 5'11", 185 pounds, projected to run 4.3 40. Short shuttle 3.7, sub-4 short shuttle to where he can get in and out of breaks quickly. Roman Wilson, mark my word, I'm saying this a couple of days before he runs, he is going to rise up boards after this weekend. My wide receiver 5, Michigan Wolverine wide receiver Roman Wilson. Now, number 4, going to LSU, talking about them Bayou Bengals, not Malik Nabers, is Brian Thomas Jr., 6'4", 205, downfield threat, good after the catch, number 3 all-time in touchdowns at LSU. I don't need to talk a ton about him because a lot of people already know the name, but he's going to put the world on notice this weekend. Brian Thomas Jr., my wide receiver 4 in this class, and I'm going to just say this. The last time LSU had two dogs like this on the outside, like Malik and BTJ, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson. I'm not comparing Brian Thomas to Justin Jefferson or Malik Nabers to Jamar Chase, but the last time they had two dogs like this, it worked out well for us in fantasy football. Brian Thomas Jr., my wide receiver 4 in this class, which leads me to my top 3, which is everybody's top 3. Number 1, Marvin Harrison Jr., number 2, Malik Nabers, and number 3, Odunze. But since Marv and Malik, they ain't doing nothing at the combine, we don't need to talk about those two. Let's talk about Odunze really quickly, because I put out a video a couple of days ago talking about what people are going to do after the combine, how they're going to adjust, how they're going to value these players, who's going to rise, who's going to fall. No Nabers, and I've already seen mocks. This ain't me just saying stuff. Y'all have seen them too. I've already seen mocks that has Odunze rated higher than Malik Nabers. There are some people out there who have Malik Nabers rated higher than Marvin Harrison Jr. So with Marv not doing anything combine or pro day, Malik not doing anything at the combine, it's reported that he's going to test at the pro day, and them LSU hand times, I don't blame him because everybody be cooking on the 40-yard dash at LSU. But I think the fact that Odunze is participating and might be one of the bigger draws overall at the combine, top 5 player consensus across the board for most NFL analysts, big opportunity for him to put some stuff on wax that Malik Nabers and Marvin Harrison Jr. won't have an opportunity to do. And if he tests like the freak that some people say he is, high school track star, I think there's a real possibility that people start to put Odunze ahead of Malik Nabers as the wide receiver 2 to Marvin Harrison Jr.'s wide receiver 1. Again, I'm not saying that's what I'm going to do. I'm not saying that's what you should do, but I do believe that is what some fantasy analysts, some NFL scouts will do after this weekend. So Odunze for me right now slots in as wide receiver 3. There's nothing that's going to happen at Indianapolis that's going to change my feeling about that. But if he does go out there and test really well, it's just going to solidify and stamp that wide receiver 3 slot for me. Is there anything that Rome could do to really fall? No, it's the combine. It's the underwear Olympics. I'm not really concerned about a lot of that stuff. I just want to see what they do. How do you run? How do you move? Do you look fluid? Did you put in the work? More importantly, did you prepare for the interview? Because that's all this is. It's an interview for these players. Did you go out there and prepare, or did you go out there and face plant, say, I didn't have enough time to prepare for the combine, all that good stuff. So overall, I don't think there's a lot that Rome could do to help his stock, but I do want to see him just check those boxes, confirm those priors and those biases. Just do what you do, Rome. Go out there and smash. But going into the combine, those are my top 10 wide receivers. I got 30 of them joints graded over there in the Patreon, patreon.com/allgas, or visit the website, destinationdevy.com. Get all those ranks, updating those things as information processes. But let's talk about it one more time. My top 10, at number 10, UCF wide receiver Javon Baker. He is my wide receiver 10 going to the combine, followed by Georgia wide receiver Lad McConkey. Xavier Worthy, the wide receiver out of Texas, at 8. Troy Franklin, Oregon's deep play threat, at number 7. Adonai Mitchell, Texas's wide receiver, at 6. And then my top 5, Roman Wilson, Brian Thomas, Rome Odunze, Malik Nabers, and Marvin Harrison Jr. Appreciate y'all tapping into the station, to the channel, showing love. Let's run it up, baby. Hit the thumbs up button, like the content, subscribe to the channel, stay tapped in and locked into every single thing that we do at Destination Debbie. And tomorrow, my top 10 running backs, which will be very interesting because ain't nobody got no same top 10. Don't nobody know what the hell's going on at running back because people don't know who these names are, but I got you covered. Thank y'all for checking in. I'll see y'all this weekend. I'm out. Peace.